Let's be honest, there's no guidebook when it comes to relationships. So we end up having to stumble through life trying to figure things out for ourselves. What if there was a podcast that found the answers for you, that provided insight to build a successful relationship and ultimately find the companionship you've always hoped for? Welcome to the Girls Ask Guys show, where we answer the questions most people are afraid to ask when it comes to lessons in life and love. It's time to master this thing called life together with your hosts, John and Ashley.
And welcome back to the Girls Ask Guys show, where we are your guide to love, dating, marriage, everything life can throw at you. And yeah, we're jumping off of our bandwagon of child marriage for a little bit. I'm tired of being depressed. So we're going to talk about something new, something exciting.
Yeah, because I want to sleep sometime and not feel like I have to become like the head of a revolution. So yeah, we're definitely going to have to switch gears for a couple, maybe 2 or 3 episodes.
We're going to have to do something different because people at work, they're like, what's up with you? You're not your normal self. It's like, dude, have you heard about this?
Guilty.
They're just like, wait a minute.
Do you know the percentage of child marriage? It's literally like, you don't seem like yourself. And it'll literally be me like, let me tell you about child marriage. Have a seat.
And they're just like, I just wanted to know if you wanted to go get a drink after work. But if you're going to be talking to me about this,
right?
Never mind. I'll catch you next week.
Yeah, so we're sick of being depressed, so we're definitely going to have to switch it up. Of course, we're going to keep it dating and relationship because it wouldn't be the Girls Ask Guys show if we changed it too much. So, yeah, let's get into it.
So you've heard us talk about show me how you were loved and we will show you how you love. Well, where does that come from? Well, it comes from this other psychology research called attachment theory. Now, it's a theory because it's not an actual science, but it has anecdotal evidence as to why people do what they do.
Yeah. And I think it's one of those things that to me, I was reading and I'm like, well, duh, it makes sense. But there is some scientific research, so of course we have to get into that. When it comes to attachment theory, I think the one thing that we all need to recognize is the absolute truth is that we all have different layers of attachment, and it's hard to find somebody who is attached the same way you are.
Exactly. And you've heard us talk about the Enneagram, and a lot of people, they've heard of the Myers-Briggs personality types. I personally like the Enneagram better than Myers-Briggs because I don't like being put in a little box. I don't fit in a box, trust me. Anybody that knows me will tell you.
TSA, I do not fit in a box.
So wait a minute, you want me to sit in this one chair? No, I need like 4 aisles, please.
Right, ma'am. I can't just fit in this.
You need to deplane now.
No.
Okay, so what is this attachment theory? Well, it goes back to the 60s and 70s, and a couple of psychologists, read the show notes. We'll have that in there. I want to try and keep this somewhat level here. But it goes back to the 60s and 70s, and what they wanted to study was the emotional development of children and why people turned out the way they did, so they went back to childhood. Okay, how did they interact with the mothers and fathers? How did they interact with the parents? And they found that those where the parents paid more attention to them had more healthy adult relationships than those that were ignored.
Which is absolutely psychotic, by the way. Like, because they did this with children.
Yeah.
So if you're trying to figure out how children are fundamentally fucked up, you don't go fucking them up.
Okay, this is group A, that's group B. Y'all are going to be okay, and y'all are screwed.
Right. One of you is going to be Ted Bundy, just so you know. What the fuck? This is why we now have guidelines, okay, for like psychological research. Because they really did. They studied like separated infants from their parents and were like, oh, I wonder how they'll turn out. Bad.
You can no longer run prison experiments, and you can't make people think that they're killing somebody on the other side of the wall.
Oh, yeah, that's a wild one.
They got away with a lot of stuff back then.
Yeah, that's why these boomers are so fucked up, man. You see what they had to go through? I bet some of them are separated from their parents.
They did realize that when 50 to 70% of the time, that if the infant is soothed to the point of being calm, they have a better and more healthy type of adult relationship than if they simply were ignored. Duh. That's like Psych 101 here.
Well, I guess they had to figure it out for us to be able to understand Psych 101. When you think about it, like, most people will say, oh, I'll let my baby cry themselves to sleep. Which is okay, because you don't want to be up all night. But if the baby's still crying after 3 hours, you might want to go hug it.
There was a research done that found that children, I don't know how they got away with this. I'm not even sure if it was accidental and they just kind of watched or not. But children who were never touched died.
Jesus Christ.
I don't remember the exact research, but I do remember reading that somewhere. And I was like, wait a minute. Somebody voluntarily just didn't touch their kid to see if it lived or died?
What are you paying these people? A new kid? Like, what? I don't get it.
I think that was more of, they looked at how the child died and they realized, yeah, the child was never touched.
Jesus.
I don't think, would you volunteer for this study? We want to see if your kid lives or dies.
Just so you know, the outcome is your kid might die. Oh, sure. Sign me right the fuck up. Are you kidding me?
Yeah. What we're going to be getting into on Thursday are the different types of attachment styles. There's really 4 of them. We're going to be looking at 3 more in depth. The 4th one is more of a hybrid style.
Mm-hmm.
When we start breaking these down, and if you fall into 1 or 2, it's not too late. You can change your attachment style. There is a thing known as, what is it?
Like you said, there's 4, but the 4th is a hybrid. So we have the 3 attachments that we're really going to be going into. But yeah, you're not closed off. It's like anything. If you don't like it about yourself, you might not like the one that's the healthiest and be like, I have that, but I want to live on the wild side of mental illness. You can always change things.
You can rewire your brain. I want to stay off that subject. But you can adjust what type of attachment style you have. And if you find somebody with the same type of attachment style, so long as you're not like narcissistics, you can have a very healthy relationship.
Yeah, I would go as far as to say, as long as you guys communicate, that's kind of the thing about all of these theories that we talk about, Enneagrams, Myers-Briggs. If you guys are willing to communicate, it does matter in how you form different attachments. But when it comes to relationships, you could probably work out just about anything.
So long as, I would say, with being able to communicate and being empathetic.
Yeah.
I use empathetic specifically and not sympathetic. Sympathetic is where you're going to feel what the other person feels. And being empathetic, you can relate to what they are going through. Sympathy is when you share the feelings of another. Empathy is when you understand the feelings of the other, but not necessarily share them. When I was training officers in jails and prisons, be empathetic, not sympathetic. Sympathy will get you into trouble. It's one of those common things that are confused, like affect and effect.
Yeah, still don't know those.
I still get those mixed up.
Yeah, so attachment stuff. So if your parents don't love you enough, the effect is you're going to have a fucked up attachment style. And we know this because in the 60s and 70s, psychiatrists were sociopaths.
And they're starting to get off the Freudian nonsense. I think just about everything Freud said has now been
It's all really weird and unnecessary.
disavowed. Okay, so why is that? Why do you have that nightmare?
Exactly.
Did you want to have sex
you had
with
a
your
dream that
daddy?
a Jago was chasing you because you secretly want to fuck your grandma. Like, what
Yeah.
the fuck, dude? It's basic psychology, man.
Oh my gosh. But when you start looking at these and when you look at how you interacted with your parents as an infant and your attachments with your close friends, your relatives, all the way through pretty much everything, your attachment style either slightly shifted or it became more
And the
solidified.
reason I think that there's such a variant on the 4th one is because the way you interact with your parents and the way you act with your friends and the way you interact with your peers and everything, they all are a certain shift in dynamic. So you'll be able to say, okay, I have this attachment here, but with this, I have this attachment here. And as a partner, I need this attachment and I am able to give this attachment. I think it's a good way to tackle it.
And we'll be getting more into this on Thursday. So between now and then, if you want to go out, take a look at attachment theory or attachment styles, type that into your favorite search engine, and you're going to be inundated with tons of stuff. Be careful what you're reading, though, because some of it is like
Bonkers.
space case. They need to go see a psychologist.
Yeah, protect your brain at all costs. When we get into these deeper topics like attachments and how you love versus how you love, that's another thing. We don't know you.
No.
We love to get to know you, so please make sure you email us and talk to us about attachment theory. We don't know you, so we're going based off of a theory, and we can't say that this is exactly how you should be. Because for all we know, you have one type, and then you have the other. Because we don't know, we're just going off of theories, not our scientific research, but sociopathic scientific research from the 60s and 70s. And as you get to learning these things, we want you to dig deeper into it so that you know what's right for you instead of just basing it off of an hour and 10 minutes of a podcast.
This is not something that we're putting out there and saying this fits for everybody. That's why we have so many different options, and we don't have these methods. We have strategies. If this works for you, apply it to your life.
Right.
If it doesn't, we probably have something else that will work better for you. And pretty soon, we're going to have all kinds of articles and everything else coming out on our new website, iknowcupid.com. Shameless plug. Go out there. We have like hundreds of these things prepped. We just haven't posted them yet. There's still SEO and all this technical stuff we got to do, but they are coming. And we're going to have a lot more articles on attachment theory and other options.
Also, there's no such thing as a shameless plug for our own stuff on our own show. We plug it. It's our show. But guys, make sure you're writing in as we go through these topics. We explore deeper into attachment. We're going to explore deeper into all kinds of different things. Make sure you're writing in. Tell us your experience, because those tailored experiences are things we can bring to the show. And you may have somebody who relates to you that you can help. So always write in, always say, hey, I listened to this episode and I really liked it. Here's what I went through. And if you guys want to read it out loud, you can, or you say, don't tell anybody and we won't. But always like, rate, share, subscribe. Thanks for kicking it with us. Thanks for sticking with us. Tell your mom, tell a friend, tell everybody you know.
Exactly. And hopefully pretty soon we will have some pretty big news to share.
Huge news. Excited.
So stay tuned and we will talk to you on the next one.
That's all for this episode of the Girls Ask Guys show, where all of us learn to master this thing called life together. For more answers to your questions on life and love, be sure to subscribe to the show so you don't miss a single episode. And head to girlsaskguyshow.com to submit your questions for a future episode or apply to be a guest on the show. Good luck out there, and we'll catch you next time, right here on the Girls Ask Guys show.